Welcome to another episode of Nintendo Historia. Now, the last video we talked about was the early beginnings of Nintendo from 1889 to somewhere around the 30s or 40s. The first 40 years was basically them building themselves up as a trading, sort of a playing card company. And slowly as they did, they became the biggest one in Japan. However, during a certain amount of years, there were a couple changes of leadership due to issues and age and things like that. So I'm going to read out a paragraph from Nintendo Wiki, which probably has the best sort of abbreviation of that sort of period. So between 1929 and 49, Fusajiro Yamauchi retired and deemed his successor to be Sekiro. However, in order to keep in tradition, he adopted him, who then would be known as, with his surname, Yamauchi. 3 years later, however, in 1932, Hiroshi's father leaves his family, and Hiroshi is sent to live with his grandparents, who at the time were in control of Nintendo, which is very interesting. A year later, a joint venture with another unknown company was established, and Nintendo Kyopa is renamed Yamauchi Nintendo and Company. Now, they did change the company name a couple times. I don't know why, but it's seeming to do with, changing the type of things and products that they sold, and maybe, a bit of ego to, sticking your surname into that, which is very interesting. So, however, in January 1940, the founder had died of a stroke during World War II. So, that was a bit of a sad thing. So, our new owner, Sekiro, decided to organize a new company in 1947 whose sole purpose was to manufacture Nintendo's cards. Both Edofuda cards and other ones that Nintendo had ushered in over the years, and labeled it Marufuku Company Limited. 2 years later, in 1949, Hiroshi Yamauchi, who was young but capable, was named the successor to Sekiro due to poor health. He had ran the company for 20 years, but it was time to pass the torch on to his grandson. As previously mentioned, his son-in-law, who, despite being adopted in the family, did not become president, based on the fact that he left his family. His son, however, who was brought up by Sekiro, would. And that was how that time period became. So eventually, he would take over the company, Hiroshi Yamauchi, which is the well-known president that you've known for 50 years before Iwata took over, when he eventually retired. And it was known as the Iron Fist of the company, which was very interesting. He said that he would only take on the company on the condition that all of his family members who worked there would be fired. And they agreed. So that gives you a bit of an idea about his ruthlessness and things like that. So overall, I think what we've learned was a number of little leadership changes over that time. And I guess it wasn't too long, if you think about it, because the first owner was around for 30, 40 years, then you had another one for 20 years, and then you had Hiroshi Yamauchi, who was around for 50 years. So, quite a long history if you think about it. So really, the first three people who ran that business did it for about 100 years. And that's often something you don't see in businesses nowadays. So very, very cool and interesting little history lesson there. But we hope that you enjoyed that little one. But things start to get a little more exciting where Nintendo starts to expand a bit more and have their eye on overseas, because our third CEO, our third president, is very ambitious, far more than the first two put together. And we'll get to that one day. All right. That's it for our little history lesson, and I'll see you later on.